everybody. Welcome to another Open Mic podcast. I'm so excited to have Dean DeLillo on today. He's actually been on before, but this time we are talking about a book that he and his brother wrote. We're going to break it all down, but just if this is the first time you've ever seen Open Mic podcast, the idea is that nothing is off the table. We talk about everything and anything, and wherever the story goes, we just follow it. So anyway, welcome, Dean.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
The name of his book is, or their book is, What is Wrong with You? And I love it so much because it's all about their childhood and growing up in Everett. I'll let you talk about it. I'll let you talk about it too.
Okay.
I'll give you some room. Growing up in Everett in like late 50s, 60s, and it's so on the money. I have to read the back of this book, and then we're going to move on. But first of all, What is Wrong with You, if you grew up here in Boston, the way parents said that was so like they had really not a lot of time, and you better get to it.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously it was you had something wrong, not, you know, it was just not an obvious thing like, oh, I should help them.
No.
You know, what is wrong with you? So this is the little synopsis, okay? Do you remember riding a bicycle without a helmet? Do you recall roller skating without elbow and knee pads? We did those things not because we were daring, but because such protective gear didn't exist. Did you ever eat dirt, have rock fights, or get your head stuck in a porch railing? Do you remember being told to go outside and play, not to get dirty and be home for supper? How about black and white television with only 4 stations and watching only what your parents allowed you to watch? The 1960s were many things to many people, a transitory time for many aspects of our lives. For 2 young boys born in the second half of the 1950s through the 1960s, we were just their childhood. Simpler times, simpler activities, and simpler problems. It's not that the 60s were better than any other time. It's just that to us, they were simpler. We remember them with fondness. Join us for some stories of our days of adventure in the Boston suburb of Everett.
Ta-da.
Ta-da. So tell me, I know that this started sort of like as family would just tell stories, right?
Right.
Like
right.
Maybe after church or...
Usually after dinner or supper, and it was just a case. It started with my uncles who were great storytellers.
Yeah.
And then as we grew up, most of the stories that are told here were told like to my kids and my brother's son.
Okay.
And sometimes it was a lesson. Sometimes it was just a funny story. Sometimes it was like, dinner's not ready yet and they're getting restless, so let's tell a story.
Yeah, exactly.
But they became such that there were times when they would have a friend over and say, oh, Dad, tell the ketchup story. Okay, sure, okay. And after a while, then they became adults and they said, I think it was fondly, but they said, you and Uncle Dale should write these down, before you die.
Warm.
Yeah. So we can have something to tell our kids.
Yeah, yeah, for them.
Right. So we started kind of jotting them down, and then we talked and thought, we really should do this. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
So with him in California and me in Boston, we just did it basically over the phone or through emails.
Because that was going to be my next question. How did you do that when he lives in California? But you just did a lot.
We just did a lot through email and just actually on the phone. And we would kind of split some stories up and say, remember this event? It's like, well, I remember it happening this way. Like, I don't remember it that way. I think you were the one that got dirty, not me. So we kind of hashed things out that way. And then we brought to light some things that almost nobody knew before.
Well, one of the stories that I love is how honest your grandmother was about the fact that she was in love with somebody else. She's in Italy. She's in love with a man, but he's going to be staying in Italy. And then your grandfather was going to America. She wanted to go to America, but she could have left out the part that she had a romance.
Yeah, I don't know if she embellished it or my brother embellished it, but the way she told it was that my grandfather, I think she liked my grandfather, but she did like this other prettier boy.
Yes.
a little more. And everybody wanted to go to America back in the
Oh, yeah.
1910s and the 20s. So my grandfather came to America, and she said, when you go, I'm not going because I like this other guy.
Yeah.
You go, and when you get famous or you make money and all
Yeah.
that, you send for me.
That's hysterical.
So he came here, and I'm sure got a job and a place to live, and
Right.
said, hey, okay, now you can come. I'm a famous musician. So she says, okay. So she comes to America, 1921. They got married like an hour after she got off the boat. They got
Wow.
married after not seeing each other for 6 years.
Yeah. Leap of faith, huh?
Yeah. And she found out that his famous musicianship was he played the tuba in the fireman's band.
Yeah. I remember that.
And she didn't like that too much, so I'm pretty sure she destroyed that tuba.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
But they were great. They lived in Everett. We were over there every Sunday
Yeah.
for dinner. Played in their backyard with my cousin who lived up the street.
Ate some dirt.
Ate some dirt.
Let's hope.
Yeah.
That's the thing too about this book, especially in the world today where everything is just a little topsy-turvy, is I honestly think this would be a great history book for like 9th, 10th grade. To have 9th and 10th graders really get a glimpse of like what it was like. We were so structured, and there's not that kind of structure anymore for the good and not good. Like you talk about that. You talk about, we say simpler times, but is it simpler because we just didn't know? Because we didn't have internet, so we didn't know about things happening in other parts of the world and things like that.
Yeah, there were things that were, I guess I tried to say they were really different. It wasn't that it was better. Like, should we have known more about world events? Yeah, it would have been probably helpful, and we would have been more educated. But things were simpler. So looking back on it fondly, it wasn't like, oh, you've heard famous people say, yeah, we didn't really know we were poor.
Exactly.
We just did what we did.
Right, and the thing is that all sort of economics of children did the same thing. They would play chase up the street and all this kind of stuff. So that's a good point, that it was childhood.
Yeah.
This is what you did.
Yeah.
And you were asked to be creative. People would come up with these games. I probably shouldn't tell this, but I'm going to. When I was a senior at Merrimack College, we had senior week where you do something every night.
Mm-hmm.
And this one night, we didn't have anything planned. I think they did it on purpose, like give them a break Wednesday. And one of my classmates said, meet us over at the meeting room. Merrimack had this like brick building that was just a meeting room. It had like a little kitchen. Like you couldn't even get in there today. Do you know what I mean? Like that was like forbidden. But then he just made up a game where we called it the senior slideshow, and it was people sliding down. I look back at that now and go, I just thought that was genius. But kids are not asked to find ways to entertain themselves anymore.
Right.
Because they've got, the phones and all that stuff. And while those have brought safety, you have a Find Me app for a child and this kind of thing, that sort of go out till the street lights are on, Yeah.
And it was more trusting. Again, wise or unwise, parents were very trusting.
Exactly.
And I think part of what, at least in the neighborhoods that we lived in, we looked at it as they really trust us. But the flip side was they knew most of the other families.
Well, this is it.
So other people were looking out for you without you knowing it.
Exactly.
And also scolding you.
And
because that was allowed.
Well, yeah, and also that was, the schedule for kids was sort of similar back in the day. Like you went to school, maybe you walked home with a bunch of kids, then you got in your play clothes, you went out, right?
Yep.
Things like that crack me up, like play clothes. Like people don't even know what's play clothes. Like I was listening to a song that just came out and it's called Sunday's Best. And I'm like, kids don't even know what that means.
Right.
They don't know. There is no Sunday, the things that
You had to put your Sunday clothes on.
Yes. And then getting your play, because I went to St. Mary's, so I had a uniform. So you got home, got out of your uniform, then you got in your play clothes. But I just think that there was more trust. And there was a sense of, you were I guess when I look back, I feel like I was a little bit older in terms of I look at my own kids and I look at other kids at certain ages and I say, well, gee, when I was 12, I was getting on a bus with my sister and going to Malden.
Right.
We would, shop, get a Sunday, and then come home, and then I would babysit.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
even know if you can leave a 12-year-old alone now.
Yeah. I mean, we did all those things, and I don't think they worried about us. Maybe they did, but it was, like you said, 12, and maybe even younger. It's like, I'm going to Malden Square to the movies, or
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to George's to buy an album, or whatever
Exactly.
it was. I was like, okay, it's fine.
And then you look at pictures, which is really, and this is the thing that's so great about this book, it has so many funny pictures. Because sometimes, you lived it, and then you're, doing your adulthood thing, and then all of a sudden you see a picture of, like, the slide that they had
Yeah.
back then. What was it, like 10 feet tall? And, like, nothing, like, good luck
Oh,
to
no
you if you
guardrails
lost
or
some
anything, yeah.
footing, all those things. But people really, as far as I remember, they didn't really get hurt.
I don't think so. I don't know any friends of mine as a young kid that broke any bones or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah. It's just that's what you
I
got,
got
and that's
hurt,
what.
but it was,
Right, exactly. So, yeah. So, how long did it take for you and your brother to kind of pull this together? I mean, I know, obviously, it's like lifetime stories, but when did you kind of buckle down and say,
I think it probably, we put this out in 2022, so I think it probably took us about a year and a half
Yeah.
to finalize it all, and then to figure out the whole, it's self-published, so finding somebody that could do it and do it kind of, it's basically print on demand. So
Yeah,
if I
yeah.
order 10, I can order 10 instead of ordering like,
right, thousands?
100.
Although after this podcast, I mean,
oh, off
these
the
are going to
shelf.
fly off the shelves. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But no, but you can get it at Amazon.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
No, I just found it so therapeutic because, it's good to stop every once in a while and spotlight, just the stuff that you just kind of took for granted. The family stuff and
Right.
like you said, with the neighbors and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. There's so many neighborhoods now that people don't even know who live on
who
their
their
street.
neighbor is. Yeah.
So there isn't that, oh, I know that the Murphys are home, so.
Well, one of the ways I learned that was, we were all the same, like me and my friends were all the same generation, and so all of our families were very similar.
Yep.
But then when my kids came along and they started inviting friends over and going to their friends' houses for events, is when I realized that not everybody had what we had. They didn't have family dinner, like even weekday family supper.
Right.
Sunday dinner, forget it.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? Well, what do you guys do? Like, well, we just find something to eat and just eat it. Like, does anybody cook?
Yeah. No, but you're realizing that it was special. Like you had
Yeah.
it seemed like other people's, but then you actually met people that, just grabbed a sandwich and didn't have this
Yeah.
sort of, multi-generational thing. Because we had that. We definitely went
Right.
to church and then we came back and then we'd visit our grandmother and, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That you were just used to. You didn't know there was anything else. Like you point out, it really was a day of rest because nothing was open.
Right.
So-
Literally nothing was open.
Right. So what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
And I think that was another thing that sort of changed the texture of Sundays is when they started having ball games on Sundays and they started having, the stores open and all that stuff. I mean, some of it was nice and convenient, like, oh,
Right.
good. But on the other hand, like, on Mother's Day, so-and-so's got a softball game. It's
Yeah.
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So, I think the other thing too is it makes you say like, how can some of this be brought back in like a realistic way?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the Sunday dinners, like that would be fun for you to have your kids and maybe your nieces and nephews that
Right,
love your
right.
stories coming over.
Yeah, we did that for a while. I think, well, my youngest brother, who we mentioned in the book, passed away in 2020. So before he passed, we were having like monthly family dinners on a Sunday.
Yeah.
We'd just alternate homes, and it was fun to get back to that and have the next generation, hang out and get along and share
Right.
stories.
And he lived in Everett too?
Peabody.
Peabody.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Close
him
enough.
and another brother live in Peabody, and then currently myself and one of the twins live in Melrose,
Okay,
and Dale's in California.
okay. Dale.
So.
See, you know he's trying to make this into a movie and become a star. You got to keep your eye on
I
him.
know. I know. Somebody said, well, why is his name second since alphabetically it should be first? I said, well, because it was my idea. So too
There
bad.
it is. Yeah, yeah. Well,
So
that's
they're
what brothers
always
do.
competing.
I actually whatever they call that, dog-eared a
Dog-eared.
page. Because this is another, like, classic. Where is it? No, that's not the one. Well, that's a good one, too, but where'd the other one go? Oh, here it is. To prove just how much of a different time we lived in, it wasn't it wasn't uncommon to see 5 or 6-year-old children walking into a corner grocer with a list of items to buy and $10 in cash. The grocery list would be handed to the first person who asked to help you, and that person in turn would collect the items and cross. Like that's so true.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I was actually out with friends the other night, and I was saying that I was going to do this podcast with you, and I said there's a part where it talks about 5-year-olds and 6-year-olds going to the store, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we did that all the time.
Yeah.
We bought our mother her cigarettes."
Yeah, cigarettes, whatever. Yeah, and and if you didn't have enough money, if the bill was $11.50, it's like, okay, don't worry about it, just write it down.
Yeah.
And next time you come in, tell your mother, and
Yeah.
you're all set. Well,
Yeah. Yeah, that
everything
trust.
not everything wasn't on credit, but they knew who you were because you shopped there
Exactly.
all the time.
Exactly. Which is interesting because there's a show on Netflix, and it's little Japanese kids that the title of it is Are They Old Enough? And it's the cutest thing, but they're like 4. And they have like these backpacks and they get on buses. I mean, it is
Wow.
just like, what? But in the same idea of you living in Everett, it's the same in their village.
Okay.
Like they know that so-and-so's and they like, cheer you
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
like, oh, you're getting the fish for dinner, yay,
Yeah.
So it isn't as scary, but the first time I saw this little bug getting on a bus, I was like,
Wow.
but it just shows you, though, that your expectations for children and how, with tradition or family, the way they raise, it can be done.
Yeah.
I don't know about 3 and 4-year-olds, but yeah, because today I was at the library and this mother, the way she spoke to her daughter, and her daughter was probably around 4, it was so, don't want to upset the apple cart. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we grew up with we're leaving, get in the car.
Yeah.
Or, it wasn't, we're going to the beach or we're going to Aunt so-and-so's. There's no discussion. And she's like, did you want to go back to our house for lunch or did you want to go to Grandpa's for lunch? And I'm like, are you out of your mind? You know how long your life's going to be
Yeah,
starting
yeah.
at 4, asking, this or that. And I also thought it gave a lot of pressure to the child because sometimes kids need that structure
Right.
of just, no, this is what we're doing. I'm
Yeah.
not going to put it all on you all the time.
Yeah.
Because what happens then is that like that mother saying, oh, did you want to do this? And then they're so little, they don't know. And then they're unhappy. Then the mother's like, well, you said,
Yeah.
and it's like.
Right. Well, they ask for something that they really can't have, and then they're unhappy.
Exactly,
So, yeah.
exactly.
No,
So
structure's good.
how does
Structure-
your family feel about this? Don't they get a kick out of it?
Yeah, they all thought it was really fun, and they were excited about it.
Because David Gleany and I we have joked about like trying to like bring this to life. Yeah, yeah. I think it would be really, especially this time in the world,
Yeah.
it would just be such a fun.
That's a really interesting idea. Like I said, it's not that you want people to have that same level of knowledge today because you need to know and be more aware of what's around you. But
Right.
But the things that struck me when it was all put together was there were a lot of family themes, and there's a lot of family issues nowadays, right? But if you can at least come together for a meal, and if you're not going to rush through the meal because you have to be somewhere, then there's more conversation that comes up, and there's more stories, and there's more lessons learned, and more just everything.
The connected, the connectedness.
Yeah, and that was
yeah.
the dinner table to us.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like, and we weren't allowed to leave until my father said, "Okay, this is over."
Okay.
So it
Did you
was-
have to finish your meal, or did that matter?
Always.
Always. Okay.
We did have to finish our meal, yeah. And My father wasn't too strict with that.
Okay.
Because there were a lot of things he didn't like.
Okay.
So we never had to eat broccoli and cauliflower because he hated them.
Okay,
So my
so
mother
he-
never made them.
Okay, so he wasn't going to
So-
put that on you if he
Right.
didn't like
The
it.
thing was, up until a certain age, he was the head of the house, so he would serve everybody. It's
Okay.
like, well, I can get it myself. No,
Yeah.
I know how much you can eat, and I know how much you will eat, and
Yeah.
that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Because as a kid, right, you can't. You're going to get more than you can eat, and then I can't finish. I'm full.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's too bad. You took it. You eat it.
Well, I know that my grandparents did like that family style where they just would like, there's the potatoes,
Right.
there's the this,
Same.
there's the that.
Same. Yeah.
But my mother she watched one time when she was dating my father, and she thought, oh my God, they're like fighting for the potato, So she used to make us, and it was probably, so we didn't make a mess or whatever, but she would make the plates herself.
Okay.
And then just give them to us. And then if you wanted seconds or whatever,
Yeah.
you could ask for it. But she just, I think the whole thing was overwhelming for her. Ah!
Yeah. No, he served everybody. Mom was first, of course, and then the rest of us. Then he served himself last, and then once he sits down, we eat. And then I think Dale mentioned in the book that at a certain age, we all did all the chores afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
It's like your mother cooked,
Yeah.
you're cleaning.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care if you're a boy or a dog, you're helping your mother.
And that was another thing that I saw in some families where it wasn't even. It was like the girls were stuck making the beds and the boys weren't. And I grew up the same way. Like we all had a rake.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
we all
Yeah.
all had our own.
Well, there were no girls in the family, so when my youngest brother was born, it was like, oh, please be a girl, please be a girl.
Yeah. Wasn't.
No.
No.
But yeah, we all had chores, Saturday morning chores. We all made our beds, and the chores that we had, dusting and washing the basement steps,
Ooh, that's.
folding laundry.
And then when would that stop? Like at 4, or like time for dinner, or?
Well, it was Saturday morning, so we did all of our chores first thing Saturday
Oh,
morning.
so you could get out.
We could either watch cartoons
Yeah.
or get out.
Yeah.
But we did that up until, I don't think we were dusting, but we did all of our chores up until the time we went to college.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like, that was just my father. Like, you got to help your mother.
Right, and also you just didn't. You didn't question it. You didn't know.
No.
You didn't.
I mean, we whined about it, sure,
Oh,
but
please.
you didn't ever dare not do it.
Right. Because that was not worth it.
Right, right. Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there needs to be some sort of cross, pollination of some of the things you've got in here
Yeah.
to what we have now. Because I think it is nice if you could have, you have local family and you just pick different houses.
Right,
and,
right. Yeah.
But so did you have? You probably said it, but I might have missed it. So did you have one car growing up?
We had one car. That's the car on the cover. That
Okay.
was my mother's aunt was buying a new used car, and so she gave that to my father. Before that, he didn't have a car.
Okay.
So I don't know. In the picture there, I'm going to guess I'm like 5. So I think we had just gotten it. Clearly an old car.
Yeah. I'm surprised it turned over and ran. Let me just show that again.
But,
You can see it probably.
Yeah, after that, it was
Used cars?
used cars. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think my
same with
father ever
us.
bought a new
Nope.
car.
No.
And although he treated it like it was a new car, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because it had to get him to work and it had to get us to where we were going, Grandma's house. So we couldn't do anything in that car that wasn't proper.
Yeah.
We did when he wasn't looking.
Yeah,
but,
of
because we're
course.
2 boys, right?
Now, you think you're 5 in this picture because you're quite tall. Well, you're tall anyway.
Yeah, I'm guessing. I honestly don't know. There's no one older than Dale alive to tell us, so we're kind of guessing.
Okay.
Maybe 4 or 5.
Adorable.
We moved to Everett in 1959 to the house that's this
Here?
house right here, yeah.
Yeah.
And we were there until 64 when I turned 6. So I'm gonna guess.
Oh, so
was right
about
around
6.
it,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, congratulations. This is so exciting. There's so many people that say that they want to write a book, they like, but they don't actually do it.
Yeah.
So that's like
It was
such
really
an
fun,
accomplishment,
yeah.
So,
So we're thinking of continuing and doing more stories as kind of our teenage college years, but
Yes,
I'm a little
yes.
afraid to admit too many things.
I don't blame you.
But we'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah. Might want to edit
Yeah.
some of that stuff down.
Right.
Well, I'm thrilled, and like I said, David and I are always looking for new projects. So we looked at this together, and we were like, there's a lot of fun stuff
Yeah,
here.
that's good. Thank you.
So anyway, best of luck. You can get this at Amazon or the printer, right? Outskirts Press.
Outskirtspress.com. You can just search on the title or the last name, and it should come right up.
I'm telling you, this is just a fun read. It's nostalgic. It's great. I love it.
Great.
Thanks for coming.
Well, thank you very much.
You're
Had
welcome.
fun.
Good night.